Josh, would you give us Jerry's objectives and his timing, please?
Sure. Jerry is doing project number 2 out of the storytelling manual. Let's get personal. His objectives are to learn the elements of a good story and to create and tell an original story based on a personal experience. Mr. Timer, his time is 6 to 8 minutes.
Since Jerry's telling us a story, he's going to be in the center here. Our next speaker is Jerry Morgan. Jerry remembers his mother always telling him it's not nice to tell stories about other people. Toastmasters, on the other hand, encourages its members to tell stories all the time. And it's even okay to make up all or parts of a story. What's a person to do? Well, let's see what Jerry does. Two's company, three's a crowd. Jerry Morgan. Jerry Morgan, two's companies, three's a crowd.
It was the morning of January 5th, 1973. Cold winter morning. There was on the door, there was a louder knock on the door. Buddy hollered out, Miss Molly, wake up. I'm here. I'm here. Knocked again, louder and louder. Finally, Miss Molly opens the door. Buddy, oh, good golly, Miss Molly, you look great. I've been thinking about you all these months we've been apart. And as I told you last night, I was going to get on a plane and come out here. I'm catching my ship in San Francisco in a few days. And I just had to see you before I go. We have some very important business to finish. Well, Miss Molly, as you can imagine, was flabbergasted and somewhat discombobulated because, known to Buddy, Miss Molly had a boyfriend, another boyfriend. So that's 3 people in this relationship. What was she going to do? Her current boyfriend was Jerry Lee. Jerry Lee had a date with her January 5th, 1973 at 8 o'clock. What was she going to do? She called Jerry Lee up and said, remember, Jerry? I told you about Buddy Cricket. He showed up on the door, and I've got to spend the entire day and part of the evening with him. And I don't want you to come around. We will get together much later tonight. And, by the way, you need to really stay away. So Jerry Lee got the message, went on about his day, but the important part of this January 5th deal was Buddy took Miss Molly out, and they renewed their relationship. Months had gone by since they had talked, and the feelings were still there by Miss Molly. And being the gentleman Buddy was, at the end of their day, he got down on one knee and proposed to Miss Molly. Now, Miss Molly, you need to understand, is a very flamboyant, flaming redhead. She has many gifts of gab, gifts for doing what's right. She said, "Buddy, I can't give you an answer now. In all fairness to Jerry Lee, I'm meeting with him tonight, and we're going to talk. And I'll have to give you an answer tomorrow." Unwillingly, Buddy left early that evening. Jerry Lee couldn't wait to get there, so he comes pulling up. Now, I have to tell you a few things about Jerry Lee, just so you get a clear perspective. He's a bit of a hellraiser, especially when he parties. And at that time, he partied pretty heavily because he had gone to college, took 6 months off to figure things out, and he decided to go back to school. So he and Miss Molly go to one of their favorite places, which was a lover's point up off of Windy Hill. Sitting in the car, Miss Molly was sitting on the console, and she looked Jerry Lee in the eye and said, "What are you going to do?" And Jerry Lee said, "Well, Miss Molly, I've already told you. I'm going back to school. I have to be there January 14th. "No, no, no," said Miss Molly. "What are you going to do about us?" "Well, he has given that some thought." And he said, "Miss Molly, do you want to go with me when I leave for college?" "Well, what are you," Miss Molly says, "what are you asking?" "I'm asking if you want to go with me." "Jerry Lee, are you proposing to me?" Jerry Lee thought to himself, oh, what have I done? Thinking fast on his feet, he says, "Yes, I'm proposing to you." So she accepted. But the condition was they had to get married within a week, because Jerry Lee was going back to school. Next day, she called Buddy up. Buddy came over. She told him in person of her decision. He was crushed. But life goes on. And don't feel too sorry about Buddy. He ended up going back to Texas, where he was from, and I believe he married a girl by the name of Pretty Peggy Sue. Madam Toastmaster.